Okay, so that's us done with the beef product study for just now, which you'll be maybe happy to hear. We're going to move on to IPMs. So IPM stands for Integrated Pest Management, and hopefully you remember the amazing anagram, is that? I'm not sure what you call it, but anyway, the memory aid, can't play golf because of crazy raptor. So in case you missed this fantastic video, I've got it here for you one more time. Let's see if we can play this. Okay, so this poor guy can't play golf because of a crazy raptor. Okay, so what does that mean? Why have I said that? And why are you going to think of that video when you're sat in your HSC? You're going to think of the C for cultural, P for physical, G for genetic, B for biological, C for chemical, R for regulatory. So you're going to remember that video in your HSC. Your mind has just been blown because you're going to remember all these amazing words, and they're just going to buy you points and marks in your HSC. So remember that video, watch it a few times for your HSC, but you can't play golf because of crazy raptor, cultural, physical, genetic, biological, chemical, regulatory. We're going to go through each one of these. These are all parts of an integrated pest management strategy. So let's get a definition. Integrated pest management, IPM, is the technique of using multiple management tools, including cultural, chemical, and biological methods, to manage pests in the least ecologically disruptive way and within economically acceptable levels. As IPM uses multiple management tools, the need for chemicals is reduced, minimizing opportunities for the buildup of chemical resistance in pest populations, and thus reducing pesticide and chemical resistance in the target organisms. So we've spoken about this before as well. So if you have been on the Facebook page, scroll down if you haven't seen it already, but I put up some master ag notes. So these were taken by another student, and the notes are awesome. They do use different examples, but I've used some of the examples I found in those notes because they're awesome, and it just gives us more examples that we can use for our HSC, so we can never have too many examples. So I'm going to use theirs and talk about our one, which was serrated tussock as well. So an IPM includes preventative measures that prevent pest problems from developing, such as supplying proper nutrition via fertilizer or soil management, organic matter, to crops. So this can be ensuring your crops are healthy to begin with. This will result in the optimal health of the crop, reducing the likelihood of pests being attracted to the crop and damaging it, and therefore reduce the need for chemical control to eliminate pests. So essentially, we just don't want to constantly spray our crops with herbicides and pesticides, and all those chemicals have adverse effects on other things too. So if we can prevent the pests from getting there in the first place, then that reduces the need for the chemical intervention. So this is something that comes up a lot across biology. It's called an epidemiological triangle. So don't worry too much about all the information, but essentially you have a host, or in our case it's going to be the crop. You're going to have some pest or agent that's affecting the crop, and you've got the environment that both of these things exist within. And they're all related in this kind of triangle. And one is affected by the other. So you want to try and improve this by reducing the impact that these guys can have on the host. So this will become more clear in a little second. So, for example, I'm using this from the Master Ag Notes because this is a really nice clean-cut example. So imagine your environment that you have here is a big grassy paddock, and in this paddock you're growing clover. Clover is a good crop for grazing. So you've got some sheep, so you're growing clover in that environment, but you have this pest called the red-legged earth mite. Now this just looks like an olive with some weird legs coming out of it, but this is actually what it looks like. The red-legged earth mite is quite a mouthful. try and say it a couple of times. So we're going to just relegate that to RLEM. Okay, we're going to call it RELM for ease. Okay, this is what they look like. You get a colony of these RLEMs, these little mites. Okay, and they destroy your crop. Not good for you if you want to have some grazing pastures. So how can we manage this? Well, culturally, we could manage this by grazing management or mowing, which results in roots putting sugars into leaves to raise sugar levels in cells and sweetness, which is less likely to attract the mite. So what do we mean by that? Well, the mite only feeds on plant cells with low sugar. So if you graze your clover appropriately, it's going to produce a lot of sugar, and that isn't good. The mites don't like that, so that's good for our plant, but it's not good for the mite. So that can result in fast growth or poor nutrition. So this doesn't require additional costs and is effective as a level of prevention. So this is a way to stop the mites getting a foothold onto the clover in the first place. So if you graze your clover, get your clover grazed, I should say, this can produce more sugar, and then you're less likely to attract these mites. It makes it less palatable, but it's not immediately effective, so it does take time for that to build up. So very simple, we could put our sheep on there earlier than we maybe expected to ensure that the sugar levels is high in the clover, and therefore the mites don't go onto the crop. Okay, what's another control we can do? One of our pest management strategies? Well, we could do a biological control. So lady beetle larvae eat the mites and thus reduce the mite population. So the biological method can only be manipulated through indirect means. So you have to make the conditions on the clover attractive for the lady beetles, and it's not specific to the mites and may take many years to be effective. However, it is environmentally friendly, so you're using a natural strategy, a biological strategy to get rid of the mites. You're using the lady beetle larvae to eat the mites. That's called a biological control. We know what a lady beetle looks like, but the larvae are actually horrendous. They look like something straight out of your nightmares, and these are the things that eat the mites. So before they get to the adult stage, they look like this terrifying thing here, and these guys eat the mites. So if you can attract the adult ones to lay eggs on your clover, the larvae will hatch, and if there's mites there, they'll eat them. So yeah, pretty gruesome, but again, environmentally friendly. It's kind of a natural way to get rid of the mites. Chemical. So spraying with an insecticide such as Lamat kills insect directly or systematically. So it makes the plant toxic to the mites. So this is a chemical control. It's immediate, obviously, it's fast and has a known outcome. It kills the most mites and is effective until resistance builds up. So we know that, say you kill 90% of the mites with that chemical, 10% will survive natural selection, our main man Darwin. Those 10% are more likely to reproduce, pass on their traits. If you use that same chemical again, it's not going to have an effect because those mites are resistant. So that's what we're trying to avoid with this integrated pest management. It's costly, okay, chemicals aren't cheap, and increased use increases risk and may kill beneficial insects and predators. So when you spray your clover with Lamat, you may have some lady beetle larvae, but they get killed as well because it's not just targeting, it's just killing all insects, not just the mites. So that's not a good thing either because you're killing one of your management strategies, the biological one. So we're just talking about examples again. I would try and commit this one to memory. It's quite an easy one. It's quite nice to have. I know this is brand new, but this is just another example. We use serrated tussock, which I will talk about. But they use this thing called Lamat. So this is the chemical that kills the mite. So I was thinking Lamat made me think of Matt LeBlanc, Joey from Friends. Imagine Matt LeBlanc, this is how weird, maybe I've just lost my mind, I don't know. But bear with me. Imagine in your head that Matt LeBlanc, his name is actually now Mite LeBlanc, uses some Lamat on the mites and he kills them all. Okay? So I know this may just be me now, having not seen you and nobody telling me to stop with this stuff. But Mite LeBlanc uses Lamat to kill the mites. I don't know. It works for me. Okay, so we have looked at some of the IPMs that we could integrate for the red-legged earth mite. We've looked at cultural, we've looked at biological, we've looked at chemical. So we're going to look at physical, genetic, and regulatory. So what do we mean by that? So genetic, we looked at the ball guard, and I'm going to play this video again. Again, sorry, the quality's not great, but we'll watch this video together.
This is the destructive work of cotton bollworm, a serious pest that feasts on blooms and bolls. Left unchecked, bollworms can quickly destroy an entire crop. That's why we created this. BollGuard 3 XtendFlex cotton combines best-in-class germplasm with season-long protection against damaging pests. Built on top of the proven technology of its predecessors, BollGuard 3 XtendFlex introduces a third, unique protein, giving farmers 3 effective modes of action against bollworm and other cotton pests. This wider spectrum of worm control can translate into fewer sprays and less potential damage all season long. BollGuard 3 XtendFlex also includes the enhanced flexibility in weed control that comes with XtendFlex technology, the only cotton technology with tolerance to glyphosate, glufosinate, and dicamba. BollGuard 3 XtendFlex, 3 modes of action, 3 lines of defense against insects and weeds.
Okay, so we looked at BollGuard. Hopefully you have seen that video before as well. BollGuard cotton is the trademark name given to a number of varieties of cotton, which is bioengineered to produce an insecticidal protein from the Bacillus thuringiensis. I'm just going to call it BT, I think we did last time. So it produces a protein which basically kills the worms. When produced by the modified cotton plants, the protein controls certain cotton insect pests. So it produces it naturally, I say in inverted commas, because we have genetically engineered it to produce a protein that kills the insects. So we're not spraying it with anything. The insect will go into the plant and get killed by the plant because we have genetically engineered it or bioengineered it to do so. So this is obviously takes a lot of work, research and development, but it saves us having to spray them with pesticides. The other thing which is really good about this plant is it's bioengineered to be resistant to 3 herbicides: glyphosate, glufosinate, and dicamba. So we can spray the cotton with these herbicides. So herbicides kill weeds and kill plants basically. And we spray it with those 3 herbicides, then it doesn't kill the plant, but it kills the weeds. So not only is it resistant to the pests, naturally, again inverted commas, because we've genetically engineered it to be, it's also resistant to these herbicides. So I would commit this, I'd pause here, take these notes. This is a fantastic example. It's going to just rack you up some nice marks on the HSC as well. But you should be hopefully fairly familiar now with the BT cotton stuff, BollGuard cotton. Physical ways that we can protect our crops from pests. We can physically protect them by putting something around them. You can see this sort of sheeting. You can put walls in between them, barriers. And we can physically try and remove a pest as well by pulling out of the ground, or like we did on Mark's farm with the serrated tussock. We scalped them. Okay, we took the top off physically with scissors. So that's fairly self-explanatory, hopefully. So that's a physical pest management control. Another physical pest management control, and it kind of blurs into regulatory as well, is I talked about the tropical race 4 disease, definitely in my year 11s. And this is a disease that's affecting banana crops in Queensland. And they have tried to control this physically by putting big walls around the affected areas, covering them in sheeting, or they quarantine that zone off. Effectively, that's what a quarantine is. But the quarantine is also a regulatory measure by the government, which I'll move on to now. So regulatory measures, they prevent the entry or spread of pests using quarantine regulations and restrict the movement of materials, including crops and livestock. So we have the biosecurity dog here, that you may see in the airport. It's putting Hamish to shame. He would not be able to do this, but it's basically checking for any food, anything that could come in that potentially poses a biosecurity threat to the crops in Australia. We have the quarantine checkpoints, and then you have the border control guys who would check through your luggage. If you hadn't declared food and you get caught, it's a big fine. If you do declare food, then they definitely check it to make sure that that food's allowed. And why they mainly think food or look at food is that bacteria, parasites, if you brought some vegetables in and there was a parasite in there, that parasite could potentially decimate Australia. So you guys are fairly lucky that Australia is a big island, and you've managed to not be affected by a lot of the biosecurity things that are affecting Asia and Europe, because you have a really strict regulatory pest controls in place. And we'll talk about biosecurity in a little bit as well. Okay, pause it here, guys. That's quite a chunky one, IPMs, and it comes up quite fairly often. So I'd really go back and make sure that you feel confident. And what you might see is they'll ask you for an example of a IPM system that's in place. Go to town on using, you've got BT cotton, Bulgard cotton, you have you have the mites, you have the serrated tussock. Throw them all in there, okay? You don't need to just stick to one. If the question asks for one and you put a couple in there, you're still going to get marks if what you put down is relevant, okay? So hopefully you know some of this already. I'm just giving you some more examples to gain even more marks. Okay, pause it here, have a review, and we'll move on.